Saufley, a Fletcher-class destroyer, was a warship of the United States Navy named for pioneering naval aviator, Lieutenant Richard Saufley. USN Saufley was laid down on the 27th of January 1942 by the Federal Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Co., Kearny, New Jersey, launched on the 19th of July 1942, sponsored by Saufley's widow, Mrs. Helen O.R. Scruggs, and commissioned on the 29th of August 1942, Lieutenant Commander Bert F. Brown in command. World War II. Following shakedown off northern New England, Saufley made several coastal escort runs and then prepared for duty in the South Pacific. She departed Norfolk on the 9th of November, arriving at Noumea, New Caledonia, on the 2nd of December. Saufley commenced participation in the Guadalcanal campaign 3 days later, initially assigned to escort reinforcements from Espiritu Santo to Lunga Point. Saufley soon undertook anti-shipping sweeps in the waters north and west of Guadalcanal and conducted shore bombardment missions against enemy positions on the island. During the Japanese evacuation of Guadalcanal in late January and early February 1943, Saufley operated with Task Force 11. On the 19th of February, she sailed for Lunga Roads to join with other units staging for Operation Cleanslate, the occupation of the Russell Islands. During that operation, Saufley transported troops, towed landing craft to the target islands, and provided shore bombardment in support of the troops as they landed on Pavuvu and Banaka Islands on the 21st of February. For these islands, planes would be able to cover operations against Rendiva. In March, Saufley resumed escort and anti-submarine duties in the southern Solomons, New Caledonia, New Hebrides area. Following an abbreviated availability at Sydney, Australia, she returned to Noumea and resumed escort work until the end of June. On the 30th of June, as Allied forces moved toward Rendiva, Saufley bombarded Japanese shore installations there. July and August found Saufley engaged in assault operations against New Georgia and escort missions to the New Hebrides and Vella Lavella. On the 31st of August, she received minor damage, but no casualties, from near misses by shore batteries in the slot. At 10:11 on the 15th of September, while Saufley was en route to Espiritu Santo in company with Montgomery and two merchantmen, a torpedo wake was sighted. As Montgomery's sound gear was inoperative, Saufley initiated a search down the track of the torpedo wake. Over the period of the next 3.5 hours, she delivered 5 separate depth-charge attacks against the submarine. At 14:43, the Japanese submarine Ro 101 surfaced. Saufley's 5-inch batteries and machine guns opened up on the conning tower of the submarine. A PBY flying boat moved in and dropped 2 depth charges. The first charge missed the target by about 40 feet, but the second one hit it. When the splash subsided, the submarine was gone. An underwater explosion was heard and, by 1735, diesel oil, covering an area of approximately 1 square mile, marked the grave of Ro 101. During the remainder of September and well into October, Saufley was engaged in light anti-barge patrols between Kolombangara and Kwashiel. She sank 4 barges during this period but sustained damage from Japanese aerial bombs on the night of the 1st of October, which resulted in the death of 2 crew members and the wounding of 11 others. The months of November and December 1943 and January 1944 found found Saufley performing escort duties for the reinforcement of Bougainville. In February, Saufley was engaged in the assault on the Green Islands, which broke the Japanese Rabaul-Buka supply line and provided the Allies with another airfield near Rabaul. Anti-submarine patrols were followed by call fire support missions during the occupation of Emirau Island. This action, which completed the ring around Rabaul, took Saufley into April. She had returned to the Emirau area when, on the morning of the 7th of April, she gained contact on a submerged submarine. 45 minutes and 18 depth charges later, 2 underwater explosions were heard. Within hours, oil covered the area. Post-war review of Japanese records identified the sunken submarine as Japanese submarine I-2. Following escort duties to the Admiralties, Saufley returned to Purvis Bay on the 18th of April, whence she conducted exercises with TF-38 in May. On the 4th of May, the destroyer sailed for Pearl Harbor. Arriving on the 12th of May, she sailed west again on the 1st of June as a unit of Task Group 51.18, the reserve force for Operation Forager, the conquest of the Marianas. On D-Day +1, the 16th of June, Saufley and the other escorts shepherded their charges into the transport unloading area west of Saipan. Saufley was then reassigned to call fire support duties. For the next month, she continued call fire support, screening, and shore bombardment operations in the Saipan-Tinian area. On the 20th of July, Saufley moved south for the invasion of Guam. Here, the destroyer provided call fire support for the assault troops. She returned to Tinian on the 23rd and supported the landings there on the 24th of July. For the next week, she provided gunfire support and served on radar picket duty, remaining in the Marianas until the 12th of August. The destroyer then sailed for California, arriving at San Francisco with her squadron, Destroyer Squadron 22, at the end of the month. Overhaul took her into October. On the 26th of October, she again steamed west. On the 17th of November, she arrived at Ulithi Atoll, proceeding to Leyte Gulf. Saufley soon found herself engaged in anti-submarine action after moving into the Camote Sea to search for a submarine reported to be in the area. Shortly after entering the area on the 28th of November, Japanese submarine I-46 was located on the surface off Pilar Point, Ponson Island. In a multi-destroyer gun action involving Saufley, Renshaw, Waller and Pringle, the submarine was sunk 45 minutes later. On the 29th of November, Saufley was damaged in a kamikaze attack in Leyte Gulf. Returning to Leyte Gulf, Saufley lost one man and suffered considerable hull damage in an engagement with enemy planes on the 29th of November. Following repairs at the Admiralties, she proceeded to the 2nd of January 1945 rendezvous with the Lingayen attack force. Moving into the Sulu Sea on the 7th, Saufley shot down an attacking Japanese aircraft at dusk on the 8th. On the morning of the 9th of January, the formation stood into Lingayen Gulf. Saufley provided screening services as the assault waves landed in the Lingayen area. On the morning of the 10th of January, Saufley splashed another aircraft, this time a Val attempting to crash the destroyer. Saufley got underway on the 12th of January to return to Leyte Gulf. From Leyte Gulf, she escorted a convoy to Mauritania and returned on the 26th of January. Sailing for Luzon, Saufley arrived off Nasugbu to support the landing there on the 31st of January. On the 1st of February, she sank an attacking Japanese boat. She then commenced call fire support which continued for 4 days. Saufley then set a course for Subic Bay. The balance of February and most of March was spent in support operations in the areas of Manila Bay and Mindoro. Saufley participated in amphibious operations at Sanga and Jolo, where she served as flagship, screening vessel, and call fire support ship. The next 2 months found Saufley engaged in escort duties. She participated in the assault against Balikpapan, Borneo, on the 1st of July. The destroyer returned to Morotai on the 22nd of July. She engaged in escort work between Leyte Gulf and Leyte until the end of hostilities in mid-August. In early September 1945, Saufley moved up to the Ryukyu Islands and then proceeded to the China coast. She assisted in minesweeping operations in the Yangtze Delta area. The destroyer remained off the coast of China until she departed for home on the 12th of November, arriving at San Diego at the end of the year. Saufley continued on to the East Coast in mid-January 1946. During February, she underwent repairs at the New York Naval Shipyard. In early March, Saufley headed south to Charleston for inactivation. Post-war service. Decommissioned on the 12th of June 1946, Saufley remained in the reserve fleet for just over 3 years. Redesignated DD-465 on the 15th of March 1949, she was recommissioned on the 15th of December 1949 and assigned to escort Destroyer Squadron 2, Atlantic Fleet. Within a year, she had participated in 2 search and rescue operations. The first, in June 1950, was the rescue of 36 passengers from a downed commercial airliner on a Puerto Rico-New York run. The second, in October, was the rescue of a Navy TBM pilot assigned to the escort aircraft carrier US Palau. On the 1st of January 1951, the escort destroyer was reclassified an experimental escort destroyer, ED 465, and assigned to experimental work under the control of Commander Operational Development Force, a unit of Destroyer Division 601. She was home-ported at Naval Station Key West, Florida, for the next 12 years, was primarily engaged in testing and evaluating sonar equipment and anti-submarine warfare weapons. On the 1st of July 1962, Saufley was redesignated a general-purpose destroyer and regained her original designation of DD-465. At the end of that month, she participated in the filming of the movie PT-109. In September, she resumed test and evaluation work. In late October, she was placed on standby, and after the proclamation of the Cuban quarantine in the Cuban Missile Crisis, she commenced patrols off the coast of Florida. She continued that duty until the 20th of November, then returned to NAVSDA Key West. On the 26th of November, she participated in a review of the quarantine forced by President John F. Kennedy. For the next 2 years, Saufley continued her experimental projects, interrupting those operations only for scheduled exercises, sonar school ship duties, and, in the spring of 1963, assistance in the search for the nuclear-powered attack submarine US Thrasher, ordered back to Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia in the fall of 1964. Saufley was decommissioned on the 29th of January 1965 and stricken from the Naval Vessel Register on the 1st of September 1966. Her use as an experimental ship, however, continued. In 1967, instruments and gauges to register strain and stress of successive explosions were installed, and, on the 20th of February 1968, as a result of tests, she was sunk off Key West at 24.449033 degrees north, 81.582900 degrees west, 24.449033 minus 81.5829 1900. Saufley earned 16 battle stars during World War II, making her one of the most decorated U.S. ships of World War II.